Good morning, I'm Joe Fryer.
And I'm Savannah Sellers. Right now on Morning News Now, a perfect storm. Health experts are sounding the alarm as the Delta variant spreads. The dangers children could face if masks aren't required in the classroom. We'll take you to one school district requiring masks as kids return to school today. Plus, the new push from the Biden administration to get more kids over 12 vaccinated before the fall. New trouble for New York Governor Andrew Cuomo after that bombshell report alleging he sexually harassed 11 women. This morning, the new criminal investigations the governor is now facing as more leaders call for him to step down. Frustrated flyers, Spirit Airlines cancels nearly half of its flights in one day, leaving thousands of passengers in limbo. What the airline says is behind the major disruptions during this busy summer travel season. And clinching her spot, USA track legend Allison Felix is now one step closer to earning her 10th medal and her first one as a mom. How she competed in the qualifying rounds. Plus, Team USA takes the bronze in women's soccer, the latest on their win from Tokyo. I am so happy about that just happening in the last few hours.
Yeah, exactly. They wanted gold, but it's good that they were able to bounce back and win the bronze today against Australia.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll bring you all the latest on that. We begin, though, with the push to prevent COVID outbreaks in classrooms as schools across the country prepare to welcome students back.
Health experts are warning of a perfect storm. Schools reopening without masks while the highly contagious Delta variant spreads. Now, an NBC News exclusive details on the Biden administration's push to vaccinate as many kids as possible in the coming weeks. We have a team of correspondents lined up to cover it all. NBC's Heidi Presbella is outside the Department of Education. Katie Beck is in Atlanta for the first day of school there. Heidi, we want to start with you. As we've been discussing, a lot of school-age kids are too young to get vaccinated. Others are old enough, but they just haven't gotten the shot yet. Tell us about your reporting. How is the Biden administration hoping to target those who are eligible?
Yeah, Joe, a series of new back-to-school initiatives being rolled out today. First of all, if you play sports, you've got to get a physical. And when you go in for that physical, you're likely to be met with a new form and a push by your pediatrician due to this initiative, which is basically teaming up between sports organizations, including the National Olympic Committee and the American Academy of Pediatrics, to get more of these kids vaccinated. Up to 60 to 70% of kids participate in youth sports. So the administration thinks this is a pretty good way to try and reach them. The National PTA Association also pushing to have pediatricians come to those initial Parent-Teacher Association meetings for back to school to try and encourage parents to get more kids vaccinated. And then finally, more resources for pop-up clinics in these weeks before going back to school. There is such a small window now to get more of these kids vaccinated. And yet right now, that number for children ages 12 to 17 is only about 29% vaccinated. And we're already seeing, for instance, in states where you've got this confluence of children with high spread in their communities, people not using masks, low vaccination rates, children being hospitalized, for instance, in states like Arkansas. That is the concern here among officials, because there are a number of states down there in the southeast where they've got all three of these factors working against them. And guys, I've talked to a number of top epidemiologists who say it could be as little as 3 weeks before we see outbreaks in these schools.
Yeah, well, let's go to the southeast. Katie, it is the first day of school there in Atlanta, a city that does have a mask mandate. What will the start of the school year look like there?
Well, Joe, it varies depending on where you are. If you're in Metro Atlanta, you're going to have kids wearing masks as they go to school today. And as you stated, there is an indoor mask mandate within the city of Atlanta. But if you drive just 8 miles down the road into Cobb County, the masks are optional. Parents are able to choose whether or not to mask their children. So there are mixed messages when it comes to what local jurisdictions and what the state messaging is on this. As for Atlanta, they will be wearing masks going back to school today. We talked to the superintendent of Atlanta Public Schools. Here's what she had to say.
The That's where we are in Atlanta public schools. And it is unfortunate and a little frustrating that it's both political and complex. But when it comes down to the responsibility of ensuring, or at least trying to execute the best decision and the best interest of the diversity of our organization, when I say that, I'm thinking of our families, I'm thinking of our workforce, I'm especially thinking of our children, including those 12 and under who are not eligible for vaccination.
Now, the superintendent says between 58 and 59% of the staff inside these schools have gotten their vaccines, but she wants that number to be higher. She is encouraging more students and more staff to get the vaccines by actually offering vaccines within a lot of these schools. As for the governor of the state of Georgia, he has said he opposes mask mandates and does not support what's going on here in Atlanta. Guys.
All right. So, Heidi, we just saw a little bit there of your interview with Education Secretary Miguel Cardona. What is he hoping for with these new initiatives? Does he think they're actually going to work?
He does. He says that he is optimistic, but he's also clear-eyed about the challenges that they face. As you heard him refer there to the politicization of the issue here. It is ironic, he says, as well as other officials who I've talked to, that some of the same parents who were so upset about putting their kids into virtual schooling are now the ones who are fighting some of these protocols, some of the most basic protocols, including masking, which is the #1 thing that we know that you can do to keep your kids safe. And so he says he hopes that with this final push, that more parents will realize that this is not about the personal politics that they may hold. This is about the safety of their children.
All right, Heidi and Katie, thank you so much for your reporting this morning. Appreciate it.
Now in Missouri, first responders are scrambling to keep up with the surge in new COVID patients. NBC News correspondent Shaquille Brewster joins us now from Springfield, Missouri. Shaq, good morning. I know there in Springfield you spent the day with firefighters who are often the first to arrive and respond when a patient calls for help. What did you see while you were out with them? What did they tell you about this recent wave of new cases? I mean, how many calls were you responding to? Tell me about the day.
Yeah, Savannah, you really get a sense of how many people are impacted by the surges that we're seeing in these many communities. I mean, we often talk about hospitalizations and think of doctors and nurses, but it's firefighters who are usually the first people to encounter these patients before they officially become hospitalizations. So I want to show you a little bit of my time with the firefighters yesterday, and listen to what the fire chief told me, who last month he said we were about to witness a mass casualty event happening in slow motion. Well, listen to what he says now.
Our community is still in crisis. This is still what I'd consider a mass casualty event because we continue to be overwhelmed and inundated with sick and sicker patients than we've seen before. So the scale, if you look at the COVID spikes, that's what it feels like. It's like riding that initial uphill on a roller coaster, except this one we're not sure where it's going to break and drop us down the other side. Just treating these patients who are so sick. They're helpers. They want to fix problems. It's what we do. And a lot of these patients we can't fix.
This department says they average about 14 cases, 14 calls a day that involve possible COVID symptoms.
Now, Shaq, health officials say that where you are, Greene County, hospitalizations have increased by 54% in the last month. What are you learning about those hospitalized patients? I know that with this Delta variant, we're seeing different types of trends in who's hospitalized, who's getting extremely sick, who's dying. What are officials monitoring there in Greene County?
Well, they're saying that many of the patients are largely unvaccinated. As far as the average age of these patients, it may be younger than you think. It's 37 years old, and 93% of the patients that they see are unvaccinated. And then there was this one statistic that stuck out to me, that when a patient goes from just being hospitalized to ending up in the ICU, 51% of those patients who are COVID positive end up losing their life because of this virus. That does not include the people who are still fighting this virus in the ICU, but you're talking about more than half of those patients dying once they hit the ICU.
And Shaq, you mentioned mostly unvaccinated. How does Greene County compare to the rest of the country in terms of residents who've gotten the shot, and what's being done to get more people vaccinated there?
This is a point you hear not only from firefighters, but from doctors and nurses. The population, the unvaccinated population here is much higher than the rest of the country. Just look at these statistics here. Here in Greene County, this is the county that holds Springfield, Missouri, only 42.6% of the population is fully vaccinated. If you compare that to the country at large, that's 58%. Fully vaccinated. You're hearing the push for folks to get vaccinated. I'll tell you, here at this firehouse and at firehouses across Springfield, they have opened up their firehouses to vaccination clinics. They know that they're trusted members of the community, so they're hoping that people come to them to get that vaccination. But it's clear that, at least at this point, not enough people are vaccinated to stop the surge that they've been experiencing for much of the past month. Savannah, Joe?
All right, Shaq. Incredible reporting with that embedding there. Thank you so much.
Let's bring in Dr. Tina Carroll Scott. She's the medical director of the South Miami Children's Clinic. Dr. Carroll Scott, great to have you back on News Now. We appreciate it. You know, you've been focusing on vaccinating families who come to your clinic. I know you've been going into neighborhoods with pop-up clinics, and you really emphasize having trusted messengers who tell people they support the vaccine. Tell us more about that effort.
Yeah, so I work in an underserved area of Miami with primarily Black and Hispanic patients who have been disproportionately affected by this virus. And I have held 4 pop-up vaccine events in the last few months to address the access issues and the barriers preventing many of these residents from getting vaccinated. But unfortunately, there are still many people in this community who are distrustful and lack the proper education to make an informed decision about whether or not to take this vaccine. And to be honest, I think we're at a point right now in certain communities like where I work, where broad public health campaigns are probably not going to move the needle very much. I think it has to be organic grassroots efforts with one-on-one conversations with people to address their fears and concerns that they may have. You know, people who have been fully vaccinated, talking to family, friends, neighbors, coworkers, et cetera, about their experience and essentially holding their hand to get them over that threshold to acceptance.
You know, many parents who have been vaccinated are worried about their kids who just aren't old enough yet to get the shot. What are some of the best ways to try and keep those kids safe, especially as school starts?
Yeah, I think my advice to parents with young children who aren't eligible to get vaccinated is that we have to remain vigilant with mask usage, social distancing, hand washing, all of the mitigation strategies that we've been using for the last year and a half. And parents need to model the behavior that they want to see in their kids, and the kids will follow. I know that we all have COVID fatigue, but we cannot let up until our children are fully protected. And although it is true, or has been true up until this point, that children have largely escaped the severe disease and death seen with adults, this Delta variant, which is much more highly transmissible, is causing many more hospitalizations with unvaccinated children. And we truly don't know what the long-term effects of this virus will be on our kids. So we have to do everything in our power to protect them.
And Dr. Carroll Scott, we just heard from Shaq about the challenging situation in Missouri. To the south in Mississippi, one hospital only has 6 ICU beds available. Another in Arkansas only has 25 beds available. These are numbers we saw at the height of the pandemic last year. How bad do you fear this is going to get, and what is going to happen in these overwhelmed hospitals?
Yeah, that's the biggest fear of everyone in healthcare right now. And the surge that we're seeing in our hospitals across the U.S., especially in the South, it's not sustainable long term. Our hospitals are stretched to capacity with limited resources and manpower. And the mental and physical toll that it's taken on physicians and other healthcare workers is indescribable. I think that many people forget that when, that although COVID is taking up most of the airtime right now, there are still people having heart attacks and motor vehicle accidents that require medical attention in a hospital setting. So when our hospitals are strained with taking care of COVID patients, you may not get the level of care that you want or deserve because there aren't enough resources available. So that is why getting vaccinated is so critically important. It's really the only way out of this pandemic.
We know you and so many of your colleagues thought you were through the worst of it. Now you're seeing this. We really appreciate everything you're doing, and thank you for taking a few moments to speak with us about this. Take care.
Thank you.
Now to the latest fallout for New York Governor Andrew Cuomo. A growing number of lawmakers say there are only two options for the governor: resign or be removed from office. This, of course, all comes after that scathing report by the state's attorney general detailing accusations of harassment by nearly a dozen women. And now, amid mounting pressure, three more district attorneys across New York begin their own inquiries into the allegations and join the Albany County DA in asking for evidence from the AG's report. Let's get the latest now from NBC News correspondent Gabe Gutierrez, who is in Albany, and NBC News correspondent for investigations, Tom Winter. Good morning to both of you. Thank you for being here. Gabe, I will begin with you. So the last time we heard from Governor Cuomo was Tuesday, when he once again denied touching anyone inappropriately or making any inappropriate sexual advances. But since then, we've heard from a long list of lawmakers calling on the governor to step down. That list includes the president, of course, but also the top Democrat in the New York State Senate, who told you that the only other option would be impeachment. Obviously, all of these options ending with the governor out of office. Tell us more about your conversation.
Oh, good morning, Savannah. You're right. Governor Cuomo has very few friends left here in Albany. The the Assembly Judiciary Committee is set to meet on Monday to discuss next steps in this inquiry. But Savannah, as you mentioned, it's a very tall order for the governor to survive this politically. More and more lawmakers are saying they will vote to impeach. According to a tally from the Associated Press, 86 Assembly lawmakers have already said that they vote for impeachment. That is more than the majority needed to impeach Governor Cuomo and then send this case to the state Senate, where he would face a trial. I spoke with the top Democrat in the state Senate yesterday, and as you said, she says if he doesn't resign, he will likely be impeached. Take a listen to what she had to say.
I believe that most of the legislature at this point is willing to just move forward so that we can do what we have to do and regain our focus on the things that are important to New Yorkers.
So, Savannah, this whole process could take at least a month, potentially several. Again, it would start in the Assembly. Once they vote to impeach, it would then move to the state Senate. Governor Cuomo would temporarily be stripped of his powers while that trial plays out. Again, it could take several months. And, Savannah, it has not happened here in the state of New York, a removal from office like this, in more than a century.
Yeah, let's continue on this, on how that would happen and what that process would look like. Tom, let's bring you in here. It's important to note that Governor Cuomo has not been charged, but there are now more inquiries into his alleged behavior stemming from the AG's report. So what is the latest there? Where do we stand with all these inquiries and investigations?
Well, good morning, Savannah. We'll do this geographically and go from north to south, starting with the State House and where that is in Albany. So the Albany District Attorney's Office has an ongoing criminal inquiry into some of the allegations that were raised in that report produced by the Attorney General earlier this week, as you referred to. Moving south from there in Westchester County, that's where the governor used to live, in Mount Kisco, with his former girlfriend. There are allegations specifically pertaining to that New York State trooper who he allegedly harassed, as well as touched inappropriately, kissed at one point. A lot of that type of activity that's referred to there in the report started in 2019 in Mount Kisco, so that's in Westchester County, and Mimi Rocha is going to take a look into that there. She's the DA. Further south, the Manhattan District Attorney Cy Vance, who we've often spoken about in connection with investigations into the former president. His office has asked for investigative materials to see if there's anything there that they need to look into. And then in Nassau County as well, they're doing the same thing. Basically, all four offices reaching out to the Attorney General and saying, look, you know you have investigative material. Can we look at it? Can we see if there's any violation of criminal law here? And then we'll proceed from there, Savannah.
Tom, the most organized way to go through this as we keep learning more and more. Thank you for the map. All right, Gabe, tell us what's next here. What's a timeline on impeachment, or how soon could we know if criminal charges will be filed?
Well, and that is a big question. There is no clear timeline on impeachment, but as I mentioned briefly before, there is a pre-planned meeting of the Judiciary Committee here in Albany on Monday to potentially discuss next steps. The Assembly Speaker has already said that he wants this process to be expedited because Governor Cuomo has lost the confidence of the Democratic majority. His statement came out earlier this week on Tuesday, shortly after the report became public. So the feeling here in Albany is that this will happen on a faster track. But Savannah, as I said, this is a process that has not happened in really more than a century, and it could take potentially a while. Governor Cuomo, if this were to move to the Senate, if he were going to trial, he'd have the opportunity to defend himself. There will be witnesses called, so it could potentially take months, Savannah.
And this is all coming as one of the governor's accusers, Lindsey Boylan's lawyer, says that that client plans to file a lawsuit. Tom and Gabe, thank you so much.
Time for a check on your morning news now. Weather
with Janessa Webb. Good morning, Janessa.
Good morning, Savannah and Joe. You know, we started off the week so well, but we are taking kind of a left turn. NOAA has released a new outlook for hurricane season, and normally we see that peak of hurricane season September 10th. But look at this new outlook that was just released yesterday, 65% above average for hurricanes this season. And this is the sixth consecutive year that we're going to be dealing with early hurricanes. Now, forecasts right now, they're predicting 15 to 21 named storms. That includes the 5 storms that we've already seen so far, but major hurricanes, that's what we're really taking a good look at, 3 to 5 now forecast for the 2021 season. So we're also watching a system that's already starting to pick up across the African coast. It's starting to become more well organized. National Hurricane Center forecasting the next 5 days, there is a 40% chance of development. So we're going to be watching that system pretty closely. Things will start to rev up, so we're asking people really now to start getting prepared. Fire season, it's already big time across the Pacific Northwest. Winds picking up today across Oregon into Washington State, up to 40 miles per hour. It's time to prepare, guys.
Yeah. Oof. All right. That's not good news. Janessa, thank you so much. We'll see you in a bit.
Coming up, it's a bronze medal for the U.S. women's soccer team.
We've got more from their nail-biting match against Australia, plus the meddling mom, all that and more from Japan up next. The crisis at the southern border is once again exploding. A record number of migrants were recorded last month, and among them, thousands of children. NBC News Justice correspondent Julia Ainsley met with officials at the border in Del Rio, Texas, and spoke to the families hoping to cross over.
Despite scorching summer heat, the record migrant surge is growing. 210,000 apprehensions by Border Patrol in July, a more than 20-year high, and 19,000 unaccompanied children were picked up, the largest number ever recorded. Here in the Del Rio sector, officials say hundreds of migrants have been packed under this bridge, and they're worried about the spread of COVID. ICE is now stepping in to provide tests and even offer vaccines. And in the Rio Grande Valley, we saw a massive group of migrants kept under a bridge by those trees. Is this a breakdown of the system?
This is not seasonal. I do think that what we're dealing with is much different than what we've dealt with in the past.
Deputy Border Patrol Chief Raul Ortiz telling us the Biden administration is now deporting more families who don't qualify for asylum.
Friday, we had our first flight of Central Americans and Northern Triangle countries back to Central America, and these are family units.
We met one-year-old Angel who slept under that bridge with his parents. They brought him here from Nicaragua in hopes of a better life.
We didn't have anywhere to sleep. We had to sleep on the dirt itself. We put down a sweater and laid him down so he could sleep.
Now they're heading to Miami, allowed to stay while applying for asylum. The Biden administration is facing growing backlash over its border policies, including the recent unprecedented step of releasing 50,000 migrants into the U.S. without court dates. Eddie Guerra is the Hidalgo County Sheriff.
It just doesn't seem that our officials in Washington are listening to us, and we all feel abandoned. We have a crisis down here.
McAllen Mayor Javier Villalobos filing a disaster declaration.
Last night we had up to 1,800 immigrants come in, and Catholic Charities can't handle it anymore.
Meanwhile, immigration advocates are taking the administration to court for keeping COVID-19 restrictions that send some migrants back.
Sending families with small children back to danger is not authorized by the law.
And the numbers continue to rise. Border Patrol now stopping more than 5,000 immigrants crossing the southern border each day. Julia Ainsley, NBC News, Del Rio, Texas.
All right, let's look at what's making news around the world this morning.
NBC News correspondent Ali Arouzi joins us from Tehran. Hey, Ali, good morning.
Hey, Joe, Savannah. Well, ultra-conservative hardline cleric Ebrahim Raisi will be sworn in by parliament this afternoon as Iran's new president at a time when the Islamic Republic is facing a crisis at home and abroad. Raisi, who's under U.S. sanctions, has promised to take steps to lift tough U.S. sanctions, but he said he won't tie the economy to the nuclear deal. Mexico's president said he will call on the National Guard to protect gas delivery trucks after drivers and crews went on strike to protest government price controls. The Mexican president said he won't back down after crews that distribute gas in Mexico's capital went on strike on Tuesday after the government imposed price controls on fuel. And finally, Israel has struck locations in Lebanon after they say they were responding to attacks by the Lebanese. They said that jets struck the launch sites from which attacks were launched from Lebanon into Israel. And those are your headlines.
All right. Thank you, Ali.
Ali, thanks.
All right, so Team USA dominated the men's shot put competition last night, taking the top 2 spots. World record holder Ryan Crouser won the gold again, breaking his own Olympic record in his final throw.
And Joe Kovacs, the reigning shot put world champion, threw 22.65 meters. That's a little bit more than 74 feet, winning the silver medal. And Joe is with us right now from Tokyo. Joe, hi, congratulations. Good morning. Thank you for taking the time to be with us after your exciting win. How are you feeling? An Olympic medalist again.
Absolutely. I'm feeling great. It's great to have a medal around the neck and bring home some hardware back to the United States. I'm truly thankful for all the support back home, and I'm glad we got the job done. And Ryan and I are bringing back the medals that we should have gotten.
Yeah, I mean, so you are just behind Ryan in this one. You guys are always neck and neck. I believe at a competition recently, you beat him by 1 centimeter. 1 centimeter. That's how close it was. I mean, talk about your competitive relationship and how you guys push each other.
Yeah, I mean, that's the best part of our sport. The U.S. is so dominant in the shot put. We're always trading medals back and forth. Of course, I wanted to come away with the gold in this competition. In Doha, the World Championships, I did. He got the silver. So we're kind of switching places every year. But really, our job is to keep the shot put dominated and make sure that the USA is bringing home all the hardware. I'm truly happy that we're doing that together. And we just push each other to become better.
Oh, I love that. And Joe, obviously this has been a different Olympics with the fact that family, friends, fans are not there. But you did thank your wife right after, Ashley, and she's actually not just a support system at home, but also a coach. Tell us a little bit about that and what this medal means then really for both of you.
No, for sure. I mean, it's amazing for me to have her every single day, but especially to have her here with me at this championship and be able to celebrate this moment
right behind you.
She's been with me by my side the whole time, and even through the interviews now. But honestly, it's not just today in this competition. It's every single day. I'm blessed.
I mean, speaking of the theme of strong women in your life, my understanding is your mother was one of your coaches early on, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, in high school, she was my high school coach, and she got me to love the shot put and really enjoyed it. And she's been with me. She wasn't able to be here in Tokyo, but she's been texting and calling all day, checking in on Ashley and I. And they had a great time at the watch party back home. So I'm very thankful for all the family support.
Absolutely. Ashley, how you feeling?
I'm feeling really good. I'm so thankful to be here with Joe. He's been taking me around everywhere. It's just been a great day.
Oh.
Which begs the question, what's next for you guys? You're done with the competition now. What are you doing next?
Yeah, that's a good question. We're definitely probably not going to sleep. We're pretty excited about this moment. We head back to the States tomorrow. Probably we'll take a little bit of time off, but we have a lot left in our track season. But obviously, this was the big one. We're super excited, and we want to celebrate with family as much as we can when we get back home.
Oh, absolutely. Joe, what was it like I mean, of course, you're so lucky that you have your wife and you guys are a team here, but without family and also just to perform like that without fans?
Yeah, it was definitely a unique situation, but this whole year has been unique. We were prepared for it. not having the fans and the energy there was certainly different, but the competition itself, the competitors brought the energy. Ryan started the day with an Olympic record. I threw an Olympic record and went back and forth. So even without the fans, the shot putters brought the energy. There was no holding back. I'm really happy that the U.S. is going 1-2. And even without the fans, we're looking forward to Paris and having fans back in the stand. Yeah. But we're definitely happy with the outcomes.
Very cool. Just 3 years away. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Joe Kovacs.
It's a little shorter than normal, right?
Joe Kovacs and Ashley, congratulations to both of you. Thank you for taking a few minutes to speak with us this morning. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Yay,
absolutely.
Look at
Glad
that.
to bring this back to the USA.
Woohoo! We're proud of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Coming up, what was called one of the best showdowns in Tokyo ended with a 1-2 punch from Team USA.
We're taking a closer look at the two track stars who've been trading world records for years. Next.
The question, who is the next host of Jeopardy? According to Variety, the game show's executive producer, Michael Richards, is in advanced negotiations to replace the late host Alex Trebek. Richards joined the show as executive producer last year and guest hosted 2 weeks of episodes earlier this year. A rotation of celebrities and high-profile guests also included LeVar Burton, Dr. Oz, Aaron Rodgers, and, of course, our own Savannah Guthrie. Sony Pictures says they are in discussions with several potential candidates for the coveted position and did not comment specifically on Richards' status. Twitter has some thoughts, though.
Yes. Not everyone's happy if this is going to be the pick. I mean, I think a lot of people had to be a celebrity, someone who was a big name. A lot of people love LeVar Burton.
Yeah. Twitter loved LeVar. Ken Jennings. I don't know, though.
Yeah. It's not over until it's over. We'll wait and see. You never know.
Very interesting.
Someone else could come in. All right. Thanks, Vanna. Coming up, a turbulent week of delays and cancellations for Spirit Airlines.
When customers could see some relief at the gate up next.
Millions of renters are breathing a sigh of relief this week, at least for now, after the CDC announced its new eviction moratorium. But many landlords are not feeling the same. NBC News senior business correspondent Stephanie Rule explains why.
Good morning, Joe and Savannah. The CDC's new eviction moratorium is welcome relief for millions of renters out there who are financially impacted by the pandemic. But it could also mean bad news for landlords across the country. Take a look. Nakia Hodges appeared in court this week to fight eviction over an alleged lease violation.
My house situation is not good. Me and my son have been washing up with cold water for over a month now.
She says her landlord shut off her utilities and wants her out. The single mother lost her job during the pandemic and is among the estimated 6.9 million households behind on rent. She hopes the CDC's new moratorium on evictions, which extends until October 3rd, helps keep her in her home.
If I do get locked out, I really wouldn't have nowhere to go.
She applied for rental assistance, but so far has not received any, and she's far from alone. According to an NBC News investigation, of the billions of dollars provided by Congress for emergency rental assistance, as of mid-July, 26 states had distributed less than 10% of the money allocated to them. Landlords like Stacey Johnson Cosby in Kansas City need the money, too. Are you not getting that money?
Well, it's coming slowly. So there are some people, if you can find where to apply, how to apply, because the process is really cumbersome. And then once it is applied, it's a 4 to 6 week turnaround time to even find out if a caseworker has been assigned.
The CDC's moratorium is designed in part to allow for more time for that distribution, and the Biden administration is pushing for states to simplify their application process. But guys, this latest move by the CDC is likely going to face legal challenges right away. Back in June, the Supreme Court indicated without an act by Congress, it was unlikely to uphold an eviction moratorium. Joe, Savannah?
Thank you, Stephanie. Time for our CNBC Money Minute, the biggest financial headlines of the day and why they matter to you.
CNBC's Bertha Coombs is with us. Hi, Bertha. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Joe and Savannah. So Target is offering a new perk for employees, aid for online education to all of them. The company will spend $200 million to provide workers with free undergrad and associate degree programs, as well as certificates in business-oriented majors at select schools such as the University of Arizona. The program will be available this fall for more than 340,000 full and part-time workers. They can attend classes at more than 40 schools and choose from 250 different business programs. Meantime, automakers, including General Motors, Ford, and Stellantis, the parent of Fiat Chrysler, will aim to make electric vehicles account for up to half of their U.S. sales by 2030. That, according to sources who say the targets will be announced at a White House event this afternoon. The goals are predicated on increased state and federal support for more charging stations and subsidies to purchase electronic vehicles. Automakers have pledged to spend about $330 billion combined over the next 5 years to bring more plug-in models to showrooms. Ironically, Elon Musk noted, hey, I wasn't invited. Of course, Tesla is the premier electric vehicle maker. Meantime, speaking of Elon Musk, his SpaceX company is seeking a spaceport mixologist to whip up drinks next to the company's rocket factory in Texas. An experienced bartender will be tapped to join hundreds of employees working at the site and will likely be based in the small house that Elon Musk calls the Starbase Tiki Bar. SpaceX is staffing dozens of food service jobs in Texas and California to feed the company's growing workforce. I'm wondering which HR person gets to interview the bartenders and do the taste testing. I probably didn't envision that when they signed up.
Yeah, no kidding. I wonder if they get tipped in cryptocurrency, too. So, all right, we'll see.
The taste test has got to be part of the interview process, right? I mean, it's kind of the whole point.
I would hope so.
Right.
It's going to be one of those, like, you know, those, like, when they make fun of Portlandia, like, you know, those, like, the tiered in the drink to make it the final touch. All right. Thank you, Bertha.
All right, now it's been a rough few days for thousands of Spirit Airlines passengers who were left stranded at the airport. The airline canceled hundreds of flights every day this week, right during the peak of the summer travel season. NBC News correspondent Tom Costello, who of course covers aviation for us, joins us now from outside Reagan National Airport. And Tom, now we are hearing these rumors of a pilot strike.
Yeah, and they're not true. There is no pilot strike. This is a combination of bad weather, says the airlines, operational issues, staffing shortages, computer problems, and, of course, the surge in airline travel during the summer. The data is not good. Today, another 45% of flights canceled. Yesterday and the day before, 60% canceled. Monday, 40% canceled. Today promises to be another day of aggravation. After a week of delays, cancellations, long lines, and angry passengers, Spirit Airlines is today in for another rough day after canceling well over 1,000 flights all week.
This looks more chaotic than over there. We're going to go back to another day.
With stranded passengers stuck in hours-long lines, unable to fly out or rebook. Among the airports most affected, Orlando, San Juan, Las Vegas, Newark, and Fort Lauderdale.
We just stay in the line for like 3 hours waiting, nothing's happening.
Spirit tells NBC News we've dealt with overlapping operational challenges, including weather, system outages, and staffing shortages that caused widespread irregularities in our operation and impacted crew scheduling. But Spirit isn't alone. American Airlines has also canceled hundreds of flights this week, struggling to meet the surge in summertime travel with bad weather hitting DFW Airport in Dallas.
The demand has been way out of control in terms of the airline capacity. And so they've got a real problem. And their problem then translates to consumer problems as well.
Meanwhile, yet another air rage incident in a year of bad behavior. 22-year-old Maxwell Berry, allegedly drunk, accused of groping and hitting Frontier flight attendants while boasting his parents are wealthy. Taped to his seat by the flight crew and passengers until the plane could land safely in Miami. Miami police charged him with battery. His case making headlines as the FAA now reports a stunning 3,700 cases of unruly behavior just this year on passenger planes.
When people are facing jail time for acting out on a plane, we suddenly see some sobering up.
Yeah, so here are the penalties you could face. Up to $35,000 in fines, jail time and banned for life by the airlines. And guys, just this morning, the FAA is out issuing a letter to airports and bars in airports, pleading with them. Don't send passengers away with to-go cups of alcohol because people are showing up with those cups of alcohol on board planes. They're already a little loopy, they get intoxicated, and then the bad behavior starts. By the way, no comment from that passenger, Max Berry, facing battery charges for assaulting flight attendants. Guys, back to you.
Yeah, wow, Tom, what a story. Thank you so much. And coming up, Americans are looking for a bit of a sweet reprieve from pandemic life, and they're turning to ice cream shops in droves.
Yes, but for equipment suppliers, the hot demand is leading to a rocky road. We'll explain next. Okay, so we're going to state the obvious here. During the summer, ice cream is popular, but perhaps more than ever this year as we emerge from lockdown life.
I mean, apparently, because demand for it is through the roof, even contributing to a freezer shortage that's leaving some business owners out in the cold. NBC News Now correspondent Dasha Burns has the, maybe you should say this last part.
She has the inside scoop.
That's a Joe line.
Everybody wants to be a business owner, but they forget. You got to wash buckets. You got to take the trash out. You got to clean everything. It never ends. It just piles up until you do it yourself.
Ralph Pappas was a DJ when COVID-19 hit the pause button on his Atlantic City gigs. Now he's the owner of his own ice cream shop in Ventnor, New Jersey. Willow's Way, named after his dog.
I've never worked in the food industry. I've never made ice cream before. I've never even scooped an ice cream. I learned all of this in the past few months.
Regulating freezer temperatures, managing staff, and actually making the ice cream and Italian ice. Some favorites are blueberry cheesecake and black raspberry truffle. Pappas is doing it all.
I'm here at 8 in the morning and I leave at 12 at night.
And he's not the only one open for business. Those in the industry say the cold dessert has never been, well, hotter.
We've put on probably 50% more new customers in the last 18 months than we did since we've been in business.
The increase in demand, coupled with a global shortage of shipping containers, is leading to an equipment problem.
And it was the end of February we ordered them. I didn't receive them till the first week of June. So I missed the Memorial Day weekend opening.
The big demand for ice cream lasts only a few months in much of the country. So the lack of a freezer for several weeks can have huge financial consequences.
It's super hard. I'm on the phone all day, every day with, millions in dollars in sales, and people are waiting for their freezer. And it's like, I don't know yet. I can't tell you when I'm going to ship it.
Never had so much business and never had so much difficulty getting anything done.
Kelly Smith's company supplies freezers to a range of customers, from local retailers like Willow's Way to bigger venues like Disney. He says through the first half of the year, there's been a 30% increase in sales compared to 2020, but a 15% decrease in volume out the door. His biggest issues?
Suppliers and labor. Trying to get staffed up. It was impossible. Normally we bring in temps in the spring and summer. Where'd all these kids go?
While employment for high school students who often scoop your ice cream is similar to pre-pandemic summer levels, employment is still down for 20 to 54-year-olds.
You find skilled guys, it's like a bidding war.
Still, much like the wait outside an ice cream store, for Pappas, the wait was worth it.
It's really like a cool community product to offer, and that was the difference between like DJing and ice cream. So I actually have a product that I can promote and kind of just tweak it to my personality, essentially.
Enjoy. Thank you.
Now I want ice cream.
Yeah, really. That was fun. I liked when she said it's never been hotter.
I know. All right, that does it for this hour. Morning News Now.
But the news continues right now.